quick overview of what? Of IELTS reading. Okay? And then I'm going to take you through a full reading test. Today, I'm going to be solving a full reading test from IELTS Academic. In another lesson, I'm going to be solving a full reading test from IELTS General. So, the strategies are the same, whether you are doing IELTS Academic or IELTS General. The strategies for solving questions in IELTS Academic can be applied for IELTS General. The strategies for solving questions in IELTS General can be applied in IELTS Academic. Okay? So, by way of introduction, what is IELTS reading all about? IELTS reading basically involves answering questions, reading some passages, or let me put it this way. IELTS reading involves reading some passages and answering questions based on what you have read. Okay? You answer questions based on what? Based on what you have read. So you're going to read a passage and then you're going to answer about 11, 13 or 14 questions that are based on that word, based on that passage. Okay, that's IELTS reading. Now, when it comes to IELTS Academic and IELTS General, there are some differences in the way the passages are designed. Okay, so what are the differences? The first difference is that what? The passages of IELTS General are more technical and they are longer than the passages of IELTS General. Let me say it again. I think I mixed up some things there. The passages of IELTS Academic are longer. Okay? The passages of IELTS Academic are longer and they are more technical than the passages of IELTS General. Okay? That is the major difference between IELTS Academic and IELTS General. Another difference is that in IELTS Academic, let me put it out. Let me write it out. For IELTS Academic, okay, you have 3 sections. IELTS Academic, you're going to have what? 3 sections. Let me type something out here. IELTS Academic, IELTS Reading, Academic. You have 3 sections. Section 1 has 1 passage with 13 or 14 questions. That's what you see for IELTS Academic. Okay? The same thing with what? Section 2. 1 passage with what? 13 or 14 questions. And then section 3 too has 1 passage with what? 13 or 14 questions. That's what you see in IELTS Academic. But IELTS General, for IELTS General, there's a slight difference. Section 1 of IELTS General has 2 passages. 2 passages, okay, with a total of 13 or 14 questions. Okay, so passage 1 in section 1 can have 6 or 7 questions. And then passage 2 of section 1 will have 6 or 7 questions. Okay, this same thing applies with section 2. Section 2 will have 2 passages with what? With 13, with a total of what? 13 or 14 questions. And then final part is section 3. Section 3 will have just 1 passage with what? With 13 or 14 questions. Okay? Then, so these are the major differences. But the thing is that what? True, false, all, what's it called? All the question types, all the different question types, show up in both academic and general. All the different question types, they show up in what? They show up in both IELTS Academic and what? And IELTS General. Okay? So when it comes to, we have what you call gap filling questions. You are going to see them in IELTS Academic. You see them in IELTS General. You have what you call true, false, not given. You see them in IELTS Academic. You see them in IELTS General. We have what you call matching information. You see them in IELTS Academic. You see them in IELTS General. You have what you call matching features. Okay, we have matching headings. And then you have multiple choice questions. Okay, you see all these question types that I've written out, all of them show up in both academic and general. Okay, let me give you one exception. Okay, this one is not common. I've not seen it. So, and I've solved a lot of reading questions, a lot. Okay, but what I've noticed is this: there are some question types that are not common in general. There are 4 of them or 3 of them. Question types that are not common in IELTS general. There are 3 of them. Number 1 is what I call fixed gap filling. I will show you very soon what I mean by fixed gap filling. Then we have yes, no, not giving. It's not common. I've not really seen yes or not giving in IELTS general. I've not seen it yet. Then we have what you call matching sentence endings. You see, these 3 question types are not common in IELTS general. You hardly see them, but you will definitely see them in IELTS academic. Definitely see them in IELTS academic. Okay, now let me show you what's it called? Let me show you some examples. Look at this Cambridge here. So this is Cambridge IELTS 12. You can see it's academic. And then I have general here also. Cambridge IELTS 12 general. Okay, let me show you what I mean. Look at, let me go to the reading. Look at the reading here. Can you see test 5? This is Cambridge IELTS 12. Okay, and then the thing is titled test 5. Let me see if you guys are with me. Are you guys with me? Let me see your message if you are following me. Just type in the chat box and say, yes, I am with you. Who is with me? Who is following me? Who is following? Who is following? Let me see your message. Anybody? All right. Thank you very much. I can see that feedback. Thank you for that feedback. Okay. So I was saying that this is IELTS reading. Okay. So we have a passage here. You can see the passage. Look at the first page. This is page 1 of the passage. This is page 2. You can see that it's a very long one. And then after that passage, we have question 1 to 5. This is what we call true, false, not given questions. And then we have what you call gap filling questions. Everything is connected to what? To this passage here. This passage here, cork. So, and that everything is under what? Section 1. You should spend about 20 minutes on question 1 to 13. So this is section 1, reading passage 1. Then section 2, we have reading passage 2. Title of this one is collecting as a hobby. And then we have the passage here. You can see the passage is also long, 2 pages. And then we have our questions. These are gap filling questions. We are filling gaps using words in the passage. And then we have true, false, not given questions. And then finally, we have passage 3. Passage 3 starts with matching heading questions. So this is the passage here. What is the purpose of gaining knowledge? You can see the passage is also long, 2 pages. And then after the gap filling, after the matching heading, you have gap filling questions, and then you have yes, no, not given. Okay. Now let me show you. Let me show you what I call fixed gap filling questions. Let me see whether there is fixed gap filling question in this book. Fixed gap filling question is usually common in passage 3. It shows up a lot in passage 3. Let me see whether there will be fixed gap filling question in this particular booklet here. Okay, let me look at this one here. This one here, remember I talked about matching sentence endings. This is what we call matching sentence endings. The question says, complete each sentence with the correct ending. This question type is not likely you will see it in IELTS General. Okay? It's more common in IELTS Academic than in IELTS General. I've never seen this particular question type in IELTS General before, but I've seen it show up a lot in IELTS Academic. In IELTS Academic. So this matching sentence endings. Okay? I'm looking for fixed gap filling. Yes, this is what I call fixed gap filling. Look at this question here. Reintroducing the links into Great Britain. So my job is to fill these gaps using the words on these lists. I'm not going to be picking words from the passage. For normal gap filling question, our job is to pick words from the passage and use them to fill our gap. So this is the passage here. Bring back the big cats. This is our passage. Our job is to read this passage and then use information from the passage to decide what our answer will be. But we are not using exact words from the passage. Rather, we are using words from this list of 6 words. We call this question type, I like to call it fixed gap filling questions. Okay? It's very common in IELTS Academic. It hardly shows up in IELTS General. It's not common in IELTS General. Okay? So, ladies and gentlemen, that's IELTS Academic. Now, let's look at IELTS General so that you see the difference between the two. So, this is IELTS General here. So, this is IELTS Reading. IELTS Reading, can you see reading test 5? Section 1. Section 1 has a passage. You can see that the passage is just one page, page 1. Just one page for section 1, for passage 1. And then you have our questions. This is what we call matching information questions. Some people call it matching statements. In IELTS General, they like to call it matching statements. Matching statements. So question 1 to 8, those questions are based on this first passage here. Based on this passage about, I don't know, maybe event. I think there's an event happening in a place. Different events. Then we have another passage still under section 1. The title of this second passage is Big Rock Climbing Center. So my job is to read this second passage and answer question 9 to 14. That is what I'm going to do. Read the passage and answer question 9 to 14. Can you see that we have 2 passages now? That's what I was saying earlier on that in IELTS General, what do you have? We are going to have what? We are going to deal with passage 1. Look at it again, everybody. Passage 1 will have what? Section 1 will have 2 passages. Section 1 will have 2 passages and a total of what? 13 or 14 questions. That's IELTS General. Same thing with section 2. Let me show you section 2. Section 2 will also have 2 passages and a total of 13 to 14 questions. Look at it. Look at the first passage in section 2. Can you see the root section 2 here? Section 2. And then we read this passage, marketing advice for new business. And then we'll come here and answer the questions. What question type is this? This is gap filling question. Gap filling. We are filling these gaps using words from this passage. Then we have another passage here. The title of this passage is Work Time Regulation for Mobile Workers. So after this passage, what do? We fill this is another gap filling question. Okay? We choose words from the passage to fill these gaps. So you see, 2 passages in section 2. Then section 3 will have just 1 passage. Look at section 3 here. A brief history of automata. And then that's our passage. You can see the passage is 2 pages is long. And then we have gap filling question here. Okay. And then we have, this is what we call matching features or matching names. Matching features or what? Matching names. That's what we are. That's the question type here. Then after that, we have your what? Gap filling questions. So you see that we have seen gap filling question in IELTS General. We have also seen it in IELTS Academic. We have seen, what's it called? True, false not given in IELTS General. We've also seen it in IELTS Academic. We are also going to see matching heading in both. Okay, let me show you. This is IELTS General. Let me show you matching heading in this book. There's going to be matching heading somewhere. We saw matching heading in IELTS Academic earlier on. Look at matching heading here. Crossing the Humber Estuary. That is the title of this passage. Can you see? Crossing the Humber. So look at this passage. This is IELTS General, Cambridge IELTS General 12. Crossing the Humber Estuary. That is the passage, and then we have matching heading. Look at it, list of headings. My job is to use these statements and pick them as appropriate titles for the different sections in the paragraph. The paragraph has section A. So my job is to read section A and pick a title for it, read section B and pick a title for it, read section C and pick a title for it. That's what we call matching heading questions. You'll see it in both academic and general. Okay, so that is an overall picture of IELTS reading. Now, if you are doing IELTS paper-based tests, your question paper will most likely look like what I'm showing you here now. It's going to look like what I'm showing you here on the screen. Okay, you're going to see your question paper and then they'll give you an answer sheet to write your answers in. Okay, but if you are doing computer-based tests, there's going to be a little bit of difference because you're going to be solving the questions on a computer. So what I want to do today, I'm going to solve a particular IELTS reading question on computer. I want to solve Cambridge IELTS 19. That's what I want to solve. Cambridge IELTS 19 Academic Test 2. I want to solve that I'm going to do it on, I have it on paper anyway. Look at it here. Look at the paper-based version here. Cambridge IELTS 19 Academic Test 2. This is Cambridge IELTS 19 Test 1. Let me move to test 2. Look at test 2 here. Can you see test 2? Test 2 starts with, okay, the thing has jumped. All right, test 2. Can you see test 2 here? Reading passage 1, the Industrial Revolution in Britain. That is the title of passage 1. So let's go to, we are going to use a particular website. My problem with that website is that there are lots of adverts on the website. That website churns a lot of has a lot of adverts on it, but then we'll get over it. No shaking for us. So okay, let me share my screen with you. The title of that site is IELTS Simulation, IELTSsimulation.com. That is the title of the site, IELTSsimulation.com, IELTSsimulation.com. So once you get to this site, you're going to need to create an account. Okay, you will type in your details and you create an account. I already have an account, so it's not likely it's going to ask me to create an account again. So I'll just come to reading, IELTS reading, and then I'll come and select, this is the one I want to do, Cambridge IELTS 19. Cambridge IELTS 19 is what I want to do. Okay, and then I want to do test 2. Can you see what I told you? Adverts. Can you see adverts popping up? So anytime adverts, if you are practicing with this website and adverts are popping up, just click on close. Just click on close. Can you see? Plenty adverts will pop up, plenty of them, almost to the point of frustrating somebody. But it's a free website. It's a free website. So that's how the owner of the website generates money for what he has done for us. So just click on, you have to close all the adverts before you can do any test. If you don't close the advert, you won't be able to do any test. And if you click on the stuff and it takes you to another link, like what has happened now, just close that thing and come and click on the test again. Can you see the adverts keep on popping up? You just continue until it takes you to the test that you want to do. All right, finally it's going to take me to the test now. But usually the adverts will not show up when you are doing the test. The adverts will not show up at that point. So it's bringing me to the page for the test now, and then I'm going to solve the questions. So I want you to follow closely, okay? This is another advert showing up here. So I'm going to close again. I want to do practice mode. Practice mode means I don't want the thing to time me unnecessarily. So start reading test. So I'll just click on start reading test 2. And then here we are on the website. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is what your screen will most likely look like on the exam day. Most likely, this is what it will look like on the exam day. Okay? So, what do? I usually like to start with the question. Okay? And then I will start with the question and highlight some keywords, and then I'll go to the passage and look for those keywords. So, look at it here. The first question says, Britain's Industrial Revolution, steam power. New Cummins steam engine was used in mines to remove water. So a keyword for me here is New Cummins. Then next one says Watt and Bolton steam engine. Watt and Bolton are keywords for me here. So I'm going to go to the passage. I can see I want to I'm trying to do something to my screen here. Okay, let me just go on. So I can see Newcomen here, Thomas Newcomen. I've not seen what's it called? Watt and Bolton. So let me continue. Okay, I can see Bolton here. See Bolton here. English manufacturer Bolton. So let me take it from there. James Watt in the 1760s. The Scottish engineer James Watt started to adapt one of Newcomen's model and succeeded in making it far more efficient. Okay, Watt later worked with the English manufacturer Matthew Boulton to invent a new steam engine driven by both the forward and backward strokes of the piston. Hold on, look at the passage and look at the question. In Watt and Boulton's steam engine, the movement of the dash was linked to a gear. So I have seen Watt, I have seen Boulton. I have not seen linked to gear system. So let me look at it closely again. This is Bolton, this is Watt. You can see Watt here. You can see Bolton here. So let's read that statement closely. To invent a new steam engine. New steam engine. You can see new steam engine here. Can you see the way I'm solving this gap filling question? Using keywords in the question to track my answer in the passage. That's how you solve the questions. Okay, so it says driven by both forward and backward strokes of the piston. While the gear, now I've seen gear. Look at gear here. Can you see that gear is in the question also? Gear. While the gear mechanism, it was connected to. Connected to. Connected to is a paraphrase for what? Linked. Linked to. Linked to. So look at it here. While the gear mechanism eats, this it here, what is he referring to? IT. Who can tell me? This it that we are seeing here, the gear mechanism it was connected to, it is referring to the piston, both the forward and backward strokes of the piston. So my number one is going to be what? Piston. Is it that I write my answer like this or I write my answer like this? Somebody says that I'm doing computer based. I'm not good at typing. You see this thing I just typed now? It didn't take me 10 seconds to type it. Typing was not my problem. My problem was quickly locating the answer. And that's the problem that people will face on the exam day. Typing is not going to be your problem on the exam day. The problem is knowing how to locate the answer. I'm telling you now. So you can type as fast as you want. Piston. That's it. That one is not a problem. Worst case scenario, you spend 10 seconds typing. In fact, that's even too long. Anybody can type piston in 5 seconds. So typing is not a problem in IELTS reading. Neither is it a problem in IELTS writing. Somebody says, what of IELTS writing? It's not a problem in IELTS writing either. Now let's go on. Question 2. A greater supply of dash was required to power the steam engines. Greater supply is a keyword here. Power. So let's go on. Let's go back to the passage. Greater supply is not in this place. So let me just go to the next paragraph. The demand for coal, which was relatively cheap source of energy, grew. Okay. In the 1800s, English engineer, by 1830, in addition, steam powered were widely used. Okay, hold on. Let me go back a little bit. A greater supply of dash was required to power steam engine. Let me go back a little bit. Is there anything like greater supply here? Atmospheric steam engine. Newcomen's invention was originally used to power that pumped water. No. Is it greater supply of water? No. Making it more efficient. What later worked with, okay, while the gear mechanism was connected, it was a key innovation that will allow, okay, the demand for coal grew. I think this thing is going to be coal, C-O-A-L. Look at this place here. The demand for coal, which was relatively a cheap source of energy, grew rapidly during the Industrial Revolution, as it was needed to run not only the factories used to produce manufactured goods, but also steam powered. Steam powered is a paraphrase for steam engines. So I think this thing is going to be coal. The demand for coal grew. Greater supply. The demand for coal grew is a paraphrase of greater supply. So I think this number 2 is going to be COAL. 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 Okay? Let me move on. Next one now says textile. Textile is in paragraph 3. Can you see textile here? Now, before the Industrial Revolution, spinners and weavers worked at home and in dash. So let's look at the passage. Spinners and weavers are my keywords there. I can see individual spinners here. The work performed in small workshops and even homes. That's going to be workshops. How many words are we to write? One word. So that's going to be workshops. In workshops, you cannot write small workshops. The instruction says one word only. Let me show you the instruction. Look at the instruction here. Write one word only. So you cannot write small workshops and you cannot write small. Answer is going to be workshops. Then next question, not as much dash was needed to produce cloth once the spinning jenny and power loom were invented. So spinning jenny and power loom are my keywords here. I can see spinning jenny here. Starting in the mid-1700s, innovations like the spinning jenny and the power loom made weaving cloth and spinning yarn and thread much easier. With these machines, what are they referring to as these machines? They are referring to spinning jenny and power loom. Those are the two machines they are referring to. With these machines, relatively little labor, not much labor, that's it, L-A-B-O-U-R, not much labor, that's going to be our answer, was required. Next question. Smelting of iron ore with coke resulted in material that was better. Dash. So iron ore, then coke. Those are my keywords here. Let's go to the passage. The British iron industry also underwent major changes. Chief among the new techniques was the smelting of iron ore with coke, a material made by heating coal instead of traditional charcoal. Okay, this method was cheaper and produced better metals that were of higher quality. Hold on. Smelting iron ore with coke resulted in material that was better quality. Hold on. That were of higher quality, enabling Britain's iron and steel production to expand in response to demand created by Napoleonic Wars and the expansion of railway. That was better. That's going to be quality. The sentence is sounding somehow, but let me just write quality. Quality. The demand for iron increased with the growth of the dash. The demand of iron increased with the growth of the. This one is going to be railway. This thing says expansion of the railway. Expansion of the what? Expansion of the railway. So my number 6 is going to be RAILWAYS. 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 Okay? So next one is number 7. Urbanization. The new cities were dirty, crowded, and lacked sufficient dash. So let's go to the passage. Urbanization. Urbanization is not here. Small towns, new cities. Industrialization. large factories, rapid urbanization. Aha, last sentence. This rapid urbanization brought significant challenges as overcrowded cities suffered from pollution and inadequate sanitation. Pollution is a paraphrase for dirty. Overcrowded cities is a paraphrase for crowded. So what is missing here? Inadequate sanitation. That's going to be what? Lacked sufficient sanitation. Sanitation. That's going to be my answer for number what? For number 7. That's going to be my answer for what? For number 7. I hope you guys are with me. Let me see if you guys are still following me. Anybody who is still following me, if you are still with me, let me see your message in the chat box. Let me know if you are still following me. Just type, yes, I am with you. Yes, I am with you. Let me know if you guys are still following me. Okay, thank you very much for that feedback. I can see your message. So let's move on to the next set of questions now. True, false, not given. So you see that in solving my gap filling questions, I've practically almost reached the end of the passage. Okay, no. I think I stopped there. So this is the next paragraph. So to answer number 8, I will check if the answer is here. If I don't see the answer here, then that means I will have to go to the beginning and scan again. Britain's canal network grew rapidly so that more goods could be transported around the country. Canal network is a keyword for me here. Then more goods transported. Britain. So look at it here. Industrialization increased the country's economic output. Factory workers had long hours. This condition fueled opposition to industrialization. I don't think the answer is going to be here. Let me go back to the beginning. Canal, C-A-N-A-L. Or canal, I don't know. I think that should be the pronunciation. I'm looking at paragraph 1. I'm looking for canal. Britain is here. Then urban one, goods, factories, invention of steam engine. There's nothing like canal in paragraph 1. What of paragraph 2? This one is not, I can't see anything here but canal here. Wow. Let me go back to that place that I left earlier on. I think I'll just pick not given for this question. Let me go on. Number 9, costs in iron industry rose when the techniques of smelting iron ore with coke was introduced. No, this one is false. Number 9 is false. I saw it earlier on. Where is that issue of coke? Coke. Paragraph 2. What later worked? Okay. Okay, no. Paragraph 3. Let me check paragraph 3. I saw coke somewhere earlier on. Where is that coke now? Newcomen, atmospheric steam engine, Scottish engineer, what later worked with. Okay. The demand for coal, okay, grew, but also 1800, English engineer, transportation. I'm looking for coke. Okay, I've seen coke here. Look at coke here. So chief among the new techniques was the smelting of iron ore with coke. Coke. Okay. Smelting of what? Of iron ore with what? With coke. So I've seen coke here. The thing says cost rose, but look at it here. This method was cheaper. Can you see contradiction? So when they introduced coke, it made the thing become what? It made the product process become cheaper. So based on this place I'm highlighting now, my answer to number 9 is going to be what? False. It's cheaper. It became cheaper. It didn't become more expensive. The cost did not rise. It didn't become more expensive. Number 10, Samuel Morse's communication system was more reliable that developed than that developed by William Cook and Charles Whitstine. So those names are keywords for me. Charles Whitstine, I can see Charles Whitstine here. In 1837, British inventors William Cook and Charles Whitstine patented the first commercial telegraphy system. In 1830 and 1840, Samuel Morse and other inventors worked on their own versions in the United States. Cook and Whitstine's system was soon used for railway signaling in the UK. As the speed of locomotives increased, it was essential to have a fast and effective means of avoiding collision. This one, they didn't say more reliable. There's nothing about more reliable in that paragraph. We are not sure whether Samuel Morse's own was more reliable. We just know that Samuel Morse produced his own version. So we are not sure if it was more reliable. So my answer to number 10 is going to be not given. Okay? Next one now. Let's move on to the next one. Number 11. The economic benefits of industrialization were limited to certain sectors. Okay? Certain sectors. Look at it here. Industrialization is here. Industrial revolution. Although many people in Britain had begun moving to the cities. Okay? This rapid urbanization, the impact of industrial revolution on people's lives was immense. Okay? With the rise of large factories, turned smaller towns into major cities. This rapid urbanization brought significant changes. Okay? Although industrialization increased the country's economic output overall and improved standard of living, many poor people continue to struggle. Limited to certain sectors of society. This thing says many poor people continue to struggle. So that means these poor people did not benefit. So that this thing of certain sectors will be correct. I think I'll pick true for number 11. The thing is sounding somehow, but I'll just pick true for it because of time. Okay? Number 12. Some skilled weavers believe that the introduction of new textile machines would lead to job losses. Some skilled weavers believe that the introduction of new textile machines would lead to job losses. So let's look at it. Skilled weavers. I can see textile here. A group of British workers who became known as Luddites were British weavers and textile workers who objected to the increased use of machine looms and knitting frames. Yes, many had spent years learning their craft and feared that the unskilled machine operators were robbing them of their livelihood. Yes, I think this one is true. Will lead to job losses. This one is true based on this part. Robbing them of their livelihood. That means they will lose their jobs. I think that's what it means. Will lead to the loss of their jobs, loss of their livelihoods. Then number 13. There was some sympathy among local people for the Luddites who were arrested near Huddersfield. Sympathy. Then let's check the passage. The first major instance of machine breaking took place in 1811. Machine breaking Luddites attacked and burned factories. The workers wanted employers to stop installing new machineries. But the British government responded to the uprising by making machine breaking punishable by death. The unrest finally reached its peak in 1812 when a few Luddites were shot during an attack. In the days that followed, other Luddites were arrested. This thing says arrested. Dozens were hanged or transported to Australia. This issue of sympathy, I don't know. I can't say anything like sympathy here. Then this thing says Huddersfield. Where's Huddersfield here? I can see Nottingham here. There's Nottingham here. Okay. A few Luddites were shot in an attack on a mill near Huddersfield. Sympathy. There's nothing like sympathy here. I can't see anything like sympathy here. So I've solved passage 1. I finished with part 1. Let me move on to part 2 now. So I'll come and click this arrow here at the bottom here. That should take me to part 2. So look at part 2 here, ladies and gentlemen. So we have our passage here, athletes and stress. And then we have on the left side of the screen, we have our questions. Okay. This question says matching information. Which paragraph contains the following information? You may use any letter more than once. So how do we solve this one? So usually what I do is that I'll read the statements and register the keywords in my mind. Then I'll now go to the passage and begin to solve. That's one approach. The other approach is to read paragraph A, solve the questions I can solve based on paragraph A. Then I'll read paragraph B, solve what I can solve based on paragraph B. Read paragraph C, solve what I can solve based on paragraph C, and then until I finish everything. So I think I'm going to use that approach. Okay. That seems to be, for me, that approach is faster when it comes to computer-based. All right, so paragraph A, let's look at paragraph A. What do we have here? It isn't easy being a professional athlete. Not only are the physical demands greater than most people could handle, athletes also face intense psychological pressure during competition. This is something that British tennis player Raducanu wrote about on social media following her withdrawal from the 2021 Wimbledon tournament. Though the young player had been doing well in the tournament, she began having difficulty regulating her breathing and heart rate during a match, which later attributed to the accumulation of the excitement and the buzz. So this is about somebody. Let me check. Can I answer question 14 based on that? Reference to 2 chemical compounds which impact on performance. I saw, okay, accumulation of excitement and buzz. Okay, chemical, no. Example of strategies for minimizing, no. How a sports person accounted for their own experience of stress. Okay, this person that withdrew talked about withdrawing because of, so there's this thing here, difficulty regulating our breathing and heart rate is pointing at stress. Okay, so she said that it's because of what? Accumulation of the exact. So I think number 16 can be matched to paragraph A. This is paragraph A here. This is paragraph A. You can see paragraph A here. So number 16, I'm just going to click underneath paragraph A for number 16. That's my answer to number 16. Out of 17, the result of a study. The result of a study. Okay, no, I don't think that can be matched to paragraph A. Number 18, mention of people who can influence how athletes perceive their stress. No, it's not in paragraph A. 19 to 22, can I answer anything here? Performance stress involves many demands on the athletes. For example, coping with the possible risk of athletes face intense psychological pressure. Coping with the possible risk. I think the answer is going to be in paragraph 2. So let me leave number 19 alone. What of this one? Which 2 facts about Imara Kadno withdrawal from the Wimbledon are mentioned in the text? The stage at which she dropped out of the tournament. They didn't tell us the stage. Look at it again. At which stage did she drop out? Following her withdrawal. They didn't tell us the stage. Symptoms of her performance stress. Yes, they told us the symptom. What's it called? Breathing and heart rate regulation was problematic. Measures she had taken to manage her. They didn't tell us this one. Aspect of the Wimbledon tournament which had increased her stress level. Yes, these are the aspects. The accumulation of the excitement and the buzz. Then reaction to her social media posts about her experience. I saw social media, wrote about on social media following her withdrawal. They did talk about the reaction here. So I've answered 23 and 24. Let me go to paragraph B now. And I will read paragraph B and answer what I can answer based on paragraph B. For athletes, some level of performance stress is avoidable, almost unavoidable. But there are many different factors that dictate just how people's mind and bodies respond to stress events. Typically, stress is the result of an exchange between two factors, demands and resources. An athlete may feel stressed about an event if they feel the demands on them are greater than they can handle. These demands include high levels of physical and mental effort required to succeed, and also the athlete's concern about the difficulty of the event, their chance of succeeding, and any potential danger such as injury. Resources, on the other hand, are one's ability to cope with these demands. This includes factors such as the competitor's degree of confidence, how much they believe they can control the situation's outcome, and whether they are looking forward to the event or not. So they talked about two things here that determine how well somebody handles the performance stress, or how they respond. This thing says respond to stressful events. Okay, let's check the matching information now. I can see chemical compounds in paragraph B. Strategies for minimizing the effects of stress. Strategies. Did they mention strategies for minimizing here? Ability to cope with these demands. I'm not sure. Number 15, I'm not sure yet. What of numbers? I've done number 16. Number 17, studies, no. Number 18, mention of people who can influence how athletes perceive their stress responses. People who can influence. There's a place where I saw people influencing something. The athletes may feel stressed. Okay, I don't think the answer is there. Number 19, performance stress involves many demands on the athletes. For example, coupled with the possible risk of what? Stressful events. An athlete may feel stressed if possible risk of you see adverts showing up. Possible risk of stuff is not here. Let me go to the next paragraph. Paragraph C now. Each new demand or change in circumstances affects whether a person responds positively or negatively to stress. Typically, the more resources a person feels they have in handling the situation, the more positive their stress response. This positive stress response is called a challenge state. But should the person feel there are too many demands placed on them, the more likely they are to experience the negative stress response, known as threat state. Research shows that the challenge states lead to good performance, while threat state leads to poorer performance. So in Imaraducnal states, a much larger audience, high expectation, and facing a more skillful opponent may all have led her to feel there were greater demands being placed on her at Wimbledon, but she didn't have the resources to tackle them. This led to her experiencing a threat response. Okay, hold on. Adverts are disturbing me here. Don't mind. So let's look at I think there's something I should be able to answer here. Mention of examples of strategies for minimizing effects of stress. So here, this positive response is called, did they mention strategies here? I didn't see strategies here. Wow. This thing is becoming complicated. Possible risk of, I'm not seeing this cortisol. I can see cortisol here now. Our challenge and threat responses essentially influence how our body responds to stressful situations, as both affect the production of adrenaline and cortisol, also known as stress hormones. Performance stress involves many demands on the athlete. For example, coupled with the possible risk, I should have seen possible risk. I need to look at that paragraph C again. handling the situation, okay, possible risk of something. Let me check paragraph B. Possible risk. Is it possible risk of? No, it can't be stress. Possible risk of stress. No, it's not stress. These demands include high level of physical and mental effort required to succeed. And also the athletes concerned about the difficulty of the events, their chance of succeeding, and any potential dangers. That's it. Possible risk of injury. Injury, that's the word. Injury. Cortisol can cause tennis players to produce fewer good. Okay, I saw cortisol somewhere. During the challenge state, adrenaline increases amount of blood pressure. During threat states, cortisol inhibits positive effects of adrenaline, resulting in tighter blood vessels, higher blood pressure, slower psychological responses, and a faster heart rate. In short, the threat state makes people more anxious and they make worse decisions. In tennis players, cortisol has been associated with more unsuccessful serves. That's going to be the answer. Serves, serves. That's going to be the answer. Then, next one says psychologists can help athletes to view their psychological responses as the effect of a positive feeling, such as psychologists can help athletes. Okay, so let me check the next paragraph. Where's psychologist here? I can't see psychologist yet. Okay, I can see psychologist. Psychologists can also help athletes change how they see their psychological responses, such as helping them see a higher heart rate as excitement rather than nerves. View their psychological response as the effect of a positive feeling, such as that's excitement. As excitement. 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 Then dash is an example of a psychological technique which can reduce athletes' stress response. Okay. Visualization. Visualization is going to be the word. Psychological such as visualization can help decrease psychological responses. Visualization. Visualization, that's going to be the word. Okay, so I've solved all the gap filling questions here. I've solved the multiple choice. Oh, there's another multiple choice here. Hold on. Which two facts about anxiety are mentioned in paragraph E? Okay, I need to go to paragraph E carefully so that I can answer question 25 and 26. And then I'll go back to the matching information. Which two factors about anxiety are mentioned in paragraph B? That said, anxiety is also a common experience for athletes when they are under pressure. Anxiety can increase heart rates. Okay? Anxiety can do what? Increase heart rates and perspiration. Cause heart palpitation, muscle tremors, shortness of breath, headaches, nausea, stomach pain, weakness, and a desire to escape in more extreme cases. Anxiety can also reduce concentration and self-control. So you are telling us what anxiety can do. The intensity with which a person experiences anxiety depends on the demands and resources they have. Anxiety may also manifest itself in a form of excitement or nervousness, depending on the stress response. Negative stress response can be damaging to both physical and mental health. And repeated episodes of anxiety coupled with negative responses can increase risk of heart disease and depression. So which two factors are mentioned? The factors which determine how severe it may be. They didn't tell us how the factors that determine how severe it may be. Oh, hold on. The intensity with which a person experiences anxiety depends on the demands and the resources that they have. Those are the two factors. This one is correct. How long it takes for the effect to become apparent? How long? Did they mention the issue of how long here? No, they didn't tell us how long. Which of the symptoms is most frequently encountered? They mention many symptoms here, but which one is most frequently encountered? And I don't think they mentioned that one. Number 4, option 4, the type of athletes who are most likely to suffer. Huh? Did they mention the type of athletes? No, it's not there. The harm that can result if athletes experience, yes, this one, repeated. This part, repeated episode of anxiety can increase the risk of that. That's the harm. So I've answered number 25 and 26. Let me go back to my matching information questions now, and see what I can solve based on what two chemicals. I saw that cortisol and adrenaline. Where are they now? That's paragraph D. Number 14 is going to be paragraph D. Examples of strategies for minimizing the effect of stress. Minimizing the effect of stress. That should be, let me see paragraph F. Yeah, visualization. Yes, I think that's going to be paragraph F. This number 15 is going to be paragraph F. Number 15 is going to be F. Then number 17, study results indicating links between stress responses and performance. Study. Stress level and performance. Where is that one about tennis? Um, there's a paragraph about tennis where they say tennis players. I'm looking for that place where they mention tennis play. Okay, look at it. In tennis players, cortisol has been associated with more unsuccess. This is sounding like this statement here is sounding like a study. Let me check that statement again. Study results link between stress responses and performance. I think the answer is going to be paragraph D. Number 17 is going to be paragraph D. 17, D. I'm not really sure of this 17. No. Let me check C. Is there anything like, oh, research. Research shows that the challenge leads to good state, leads to good performance. Okay. This one is better actually. Study results indicating links between stress responses and performance. I think I'll change it to C. Number 17, I'll change it to C. Number 18, mention of people who can influence how athletes perceive their, that's psychologists. Psychologists can influence it. That's paragraph. Where is this place where they mention psychologists? Look at it here. Psychologists. Psychologists. So I'm going to pick psychologists. That's paragraph F. Paragraph F for number 18. So I've solved everything now. Let me move on to the next paragraph. The next passage. Let's move on to the next passage. Okay. So ladies and gentlemen, here we have our passage 3. Let me remove these adverts. These adverts are blocking my view. Somebody says, will advert show up on the exam day? Not possible. Advert cannot show up. You see this question type here? This is fixed gap filling. If you remember, I talked about that earlier on when I was introducing the lesson. This is fixed gap filling. So let me solve this particular set of questions. Miriam, an inquiry into the existence of a gifted child. Okay? Let us start by looking at modern genius, Miriam Mizakani. Miriam Mizakani. Miriam Mizakani. I'm trying to adjust my screen so that the adverts will not disturb me too much. Okay. who died at the early age of 40. She was the only woman. She was the only woman to win the Fields Medal, the mathematical equivalent of a Nobel Prize. It would be easy to assume that someone as special as Mizakani must have been one of those gifted children, those who have an extraordinary ability in specific spheres of activity or knowledge. But look closer and a different story emerges. Mizakani was born in Tehran, Iran. She went to a highly selective girls' school, but math wasn't her interest, reading was. She loved novels and would read anything she could lay her hands on. As for math, she did rather poorly at it for the first couple of years in her middle school, but became interested when her elder brother told her about what he'd learned. He shared a famous math problem from a magazine that fascinated her, and she was hooked. So let's say Miriam Mizakani is regarded as dash in the field of mathematics. Let me see. Genius. He won the Nobel Prize. He won the Fields Medal, mathematical equivalent of Nobel Prize. Regarded as gifted, maybe gifted in the field of math. Based on this whole thing here, I can say gifted in the field of mathematics based on that first paragraph. Because she was the only female holder of the prestigious Fields Medal. Is there anything like gifted in the lists? Let me see. Look at the list here. Appeal, no. Determined. Determined in the field. No. No. Intrigued, single, achievement. No. Devoted. Devoted in the field of mathematics. Devoted seems to be a good answer. Unique. Innovative. Huh? The answer is either going to be innovative or devoted. Let me pick. So you see the way I'm dragging the answer. I'll now come and drop it inside the box. That's how this one works. That's how this one works. So you drag your answer and come and drop it there. Innovative was regarded as innovative. If I want to move it out, I'll just come here and drag it and drop it outside. I'll just come and drop it outside. Or let me see. Or maybe I'll put another one there. Let me see if I want to put devoted there. Then that's what's it called? That innovative will be replaced. Okay. I think is either going to be devoted or innovative. It's going to be one of the two. A record that she retained at the time of her death. Well, let me go on. Let me check the next set of questions. Yes, no, not given. Many people who ended up winning prestigious intellectual prizes only reach an average standard when young. Okay, multiple choice. I will solve them last. Let me go to the next paragraph. This is passage 3, it's usually the toughest, actually. In adult life, it is clear that she was curious, excited by what she did, and also resolute in the face of setback. This is sounding like devoted. Okay, resolute in the face of setback, that's devoted. And one of our comments sums it up. Of course, the most rewarding part is the aha moment, the excitement of discovery and enjoyment of understanding something new. But most of the time, doing mathematics for me is like being on a long hike with no trail or end in sight. That trail took her to the heights of the original research, in mathematics. Okay, let's check the questions. However, this number 28 says, however, maths held little dash for her as a child. And in fact, her performance was below average until she was dashed by a puzzle. This is going to be in paragraph A. However, maths held little dash for her as a child. Okay, look at it here. As for maths, she did rather poorly at it. Held little appeal. I'm going to use appeal for this box because she did poorly. So maths did not really appeal to her. Appeal is going to be the best word from the list. Little satisfaction for her. Little appeal. I think appeal is better. Until she was dashed by a puzzle. until she was intrigued. That's going to be the word. This thing says she was hooked. I think the word for that is going to be intrigued by a different puzzle that one of her siblings showed her. Later, as a professional mathematician, she had an inquiring mind and proved herself to be dash when things did not go smoothly. Proved herself to be determined. Look at it here. Excited by what she did and resolute. Can you see that? Resolute in the face of setbacks. That's determined. Proved herself to be determined. There's a place for determined. That's going to be the answer for the next gap. Determined. How do I move this thing now? I need to adjust my screen. How do I adjust my screen? Um, there's something wrong here. How do I adjust my screen? How do I adjust my screen? This thing is going to be determined, but okay. Proved herself to be determined, yes. When things did not go smoothly. She said she got the greatest dash from making the greatest excitement. That's going to be the word. She got the greatest excitement. Where is it now? One of our comments sums it up. Of course, the most rewarding part is the aha moment, the excitement of discovery and enjoyment and understanding something new. So she got her greatest excitement from making groundbreaking discoveries. And the fact that she was responsible for some extremely dash mathematical studies. Let me see, is there anything like exact? Okay, satisfaction is going to be the word. Satisfaction, our greatest satisfaction. Satisfaction is a paraphrase for enjoyment, excitement of discovery and enjoyment. That's going to be the word for this gap here. She was responsible for some extremely dash mathematical studies. Let me check the next paragraph. Is her background unusual? Apparently not. Most Nobel Prize, hold on, extremely responsible for some extremely dash mathematical studies. That trail took her to heights of original research into mathematics. Extremely dash, extremely unique. I think unique is a good word there. Extremely unique. That's going to be the word for that final gap. Unique. Extremely unique. How do we carry unique now? Okay. Unique has moved to the bottom. Unique. Now I can carry unique from here to number 32. So I've solved the gap filling questions. I have yes, no, not given question left. Number 33. Many people who ended up winning prestigious intellectual prizes only reached an average standard when young. Okay, many people. I can see Einstein here. You see this Einstein here? And Einstein is here. That shows me that number 33, the answer to number 33 should have showed up before this particular point in the passage. So let me go back a little bit. I'm not sure the answer is here. So let me just pick, I'll just pick not given. Many people who ended up winning prestigious intellectual prizes. The timer is telling me I have 10 minutes more. I'm sure I'm going to meet up. You can see the color changed. On the exam day, the color will not change like this. Oh. The color will not change. The thing will just continue. So you have to be looking at the timer constantly. Einstein's failures as a young man were due to his lack of confidence. So let's check Einstein. Einstein was slow to talk as a baby. He failed in the general part of the entry test to Zurich Polytechnic, though they let him in because of his high physics and math score. He struggled at work initially but kept plugging away and eventually rewrote the laws of Newtonian mechanics with his theory of relativity. His failure were due to lack of confidence. No, his failure, where is that place of failure now? Hold on. You see this question here. Many people who ended up winning prestigious prizes only reach an average standard when they were young. This thing sounds, is a background unusual? Apparently not. Most Nobel, you see the sentence here? It's sounding like number 33. Most Nobel Prize winners were unexceptional in childhood. That's sounding like this number 33 is going to be true. I will change my mind for number 33. Then number 34, due to lack of confidence. So Eshton was slow to talk as a baby. He failed his tests. Okay. He struggled at work. We don't know whether it was due to lack of confidence. There's nothing about confidence here. Number 35, it is difficult to reach agreement on whether some children are actually born gifted. Let's see. There is a considerable amount of research on high performance over this last century that suggests it goes way beyond tested intelligence. On top of that, research is clear that brains are flexible. New neural pathways can be created and IQ isn't fixed. For example, just because you can read stories with hundreds of pages at the age of 5 doesn't mean you'll still be ahead of your contemporaries in your teens. It is difficult to reach agreement on whether some children are actually born gifted. Born gifted. While the jury is out on giftedness being innate. Okay, that's it here. Giftedness being innate is a paraphrase for born gifted. Innate means you were born with that ability. That's the meaning of innate. The jury is out. In other words, they are still. What's the meaning of the jury is out? While the jury is out on giftedness being innate and other factors potentially making the difference. What is certain is that, so they've not yet agreed. It is difficult to agree on whether some children are actually born gifted. This number 35, I think I'll pick yes. I'm not sure of this 35. Number 36, Einstein was upset by the public's view of his life's work. Is there anything like Einstein in the next paragraph? I can't see anything here. I can only see air. The latest neuroscience suggests that most individuals can reach levels of performance. However, they must be taught the right attitude. Okay, I can't say anything like about Einstein here. Next paragraph, is there Einstein here? Erickson. There's nothing like Einstein here. Next paragraph, Benjamin Bloom. Bloom. There's nothing like Einstein here. Hare says we know high performance learn. Wow. Where is Einstein again? Okay, let us end with Einstein. Okay, finally we have seen Einstein. The epitome of genius. He clearly had curiosity, character, and determination. He struggled against rejection in early life but was undeterred. They did think he was a genius and even gifted. He once wrote, "It's not that I'm smart. Most people say it's the intellect which makes a great scientist. They are wrong. It's the character." Einstein was upset. There's nothing about being upset here. We are not sure whether he was upset or not. Einstein put his success down to the speed at which he dealt with scientific questions. No, that's not true. The reason is that, what's it called? He stayed with problem longer. That's not speed. He stayed with problem longer. So it's a different reason. Number 38, gap filling, multiple choice questions. This one, I need to move fast. I have 3 questions left. I have 5 minutes left. What does Hare believe is needed for children to equal gifted standards? Let me see. Equal gifted standards. I saw in one paragraph here. Okay, see here. Professor Deborah Eyre. Equal, this is gifted. However, they must be taught the right attitude. Curiosity. They need the right support in developing those approaches at home as well as at school. Strict discipline from the teaching staff, assistance from their peers in classroom, development of a spirit of inquiry. What is needed? I think I'll go for option A. This particular multiple choice, I'm just doing guesswork because I don't want the time to run out. That's what I do when I see that time is running out. I don't really study the answers in detail. Next one is about Erickson. What is the result of Erickson's research? So this is Erickson here. After research going back to 1918 to diverse achievement from music to memory, he doesn't think unique and innate talent are at the art of performance. Deliberate practice that stretches you every step of the way, and around 10,000 hours of it is what produces the goods. It's not a magic number. The highest performers move on to doing a whole lot more, of course. Erickson's memory research is particularly interesting because random students trained in memory techniques for the study went on to outperform others. Others thought to have innately superior memories, those you might call gifted. The result is that very gifted children do not need to work. No, being born with special gifts is not the key factor. Yes, I think this is correct. Look at it here. It says it doesn't think that being unique talent are the art of performance. This innate talent, that's going to be option B. Option B. Then number 40, in the penultimate paragraph, penultimate means second to the last. This is the ultimate paragraph. This is the penultimate paragraph here. Here says we know high performers learn. It is stated that the key to some deprived children's success is she's working with a group of schools both in Britain and abroad. Some spin-off research which look in detail at 24 of the 3,000 children being studied. Okay? Half are getting free school meals. That's deprived. Where's free school meals? Because of poverty. That's deprived. More than half are living with single parents. That's another level of deprived. 4 in 5 were living in disadvantage. That's still deprived. Interviews uncovered strong evidence of an adult or adults in child's life who valued or supported education, either in the immediate or extended family or in the child's wider community. Children talked about the need to work hard at school, to listen in class and keep trying. Okay, I think it's going to be no, it's not food. Loving support, more than one parent, no. Community which, no. The guidance of, yes, this is it. Someone who understand the benefits of learning. That's, where is it now? Look at it here. Strong evidence of an adult who values and supports education. That's it. This number 40, I'm very sure the answer is D. So I've solved everything. The only one in this MCQ I'm not really sure of is this number 38. Needed for children to be equal gifted standards. The advert is showing up again. So this thing is going to submit anytime soon, I guess. And I've solved everything. The only one that is somehow is this number 38. The others, I'll just leave my answer as they are. So let's see. Let me see what my answer. Let me submit. How do I submit now? This is actually my first time of using this website. Interesting. The adverts were really disturbing. Okay, how do I submit? See people's comments all over the site. Okay, I'm hoping that this thing will submit itself automatically. There's nothing like submit button here. So let's wait. It's going to time out now. Okay, yeah, submit my answer. Submit. Wow. I got 37 over 40. Interesting. So, okay, this site is not going to give me, it's not going to show, okay, see the questions I got wrong. Number 27, 32, and 38 are wrong. Those are the questions I got wrong. 27, 32, and 38. 27, 32, and 38. So you see the way I've solved the full reading tests, and I finished everything in less than 1 hour, despite the fact that I was talking and trying to explain one or two things to you guys. So this is just to show you how to deal with questions in IELTS reading. Okay, how to solve a full reading test. Okay, and I want you to take time to go over it again. You can try your answer on this particular test, maybe again, or maybe another test, following the strategy I've used. You can use this website. You'll be distracted by adverts, but then it's still going to be helpful for you. Okay, so thank you very much, everybody. I'm going to drop a link for us to practice a full reading test. That will be our assignment for today. If you have any question, feel free to drop your question in the WhatsApp chat. I'm going to attend to it as soon as I can. Thank you very much, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day.